Welcome back to The Roll-Up. I'm Robbie.
I'm Andy. Robbie and I met at the University of Florida in 2017, where we first found out about digital assets.
We learned a lot along the way, and we're bringing you face-to-face with the leaders of our industry.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
We are just discussing the viral post from 𝗗𝗓𝗦𝗧𝗔𝗜𝗠𝗘𝗥 about the 2028 super intelligence crisis. You being the CEO of Brave can get a good chuckle out of that.
I missed that post, so you have to tell me about it.
Well, why don't we just, Brendan, tell us about how you guys are using AI with Brave now, being one of the best crypto blockchain-based protocols, products in the market. We all use it. I'm using it right now as we speak. I've got it on my dashboard. It's here. Everyone's using it. How are you guys using AI?
So we have a couple of ways we use it. One is we have the browser with integrated AI. It's called Leo, which is a name that's confusing because people think that's every kind of AI we ever put in anything, including search
Leo,
engine.
yep.
But Leo is the current nickname for browser AI, and it's in the sidebar. You can also pick it from the address bar when you get autocomplete choices. Instead of doing a search, which by default is Brave search, you can pick Google or other search engine. If you want, you can ask Leo, and that will open the sidebar, and it'll use a model you can pick. We have a default, of course. I think it's Qwen, but we have been building a system for browser integration for what might be called a knowledge agent. It can read the page. It can see things in the full page that you can't scroll to yet or don't want to scroll to. And it is to assist you in browsing and making connections, providing links. So it's like a local intelligence and a search. And it does use our search API to our search engine, so it can go across the web. It can see browser resources, but it cannot manipulate them. We have something else, which some people call the action agent as opposed to the knowledge agent. And that we call agent mode. And that's available in Brave Nightly, and that opens in a separate profile. There's a reason for that because it's risky. You may have noticed last year, Perplexity Comet and then ChatGPT Atlas both jumped into the deep end of the pool, and they didn't. Perplexity at least didn't check for water first. There's something called indirect prompt injection. When you're dealing with an agent that's always running, it can see all your tabs, it can see what you type, it can see the system prompt. It also reads the web. So some disguised text that is hidden, invisible to your eyes on Reddit could inject a prompt that gets appended to the system and user prompts. And it says, send all your logins and all your crypto and all your cash and all your health data to my email. And it's extremely dangerous because the original web security model, which I had a lot to do with because of JavaScript, was different sites were mutually suspicious. So we had the same origin policy. We have what's called cross-site scripting threats. And those have been dealt with for 30 years, so people understand how to do them, and web standards have evolved. With this new AI in the browser, it cuts across all those layers. It cuts across all the origins, all the open tabs, the agencies, everything. So it could steal all your stuff. And by injecting this engineered indirect prompt, it can do it. And we've developed proofs of concept. We reported responsibly to Perplexity and OpenAI and Opera. We posted blogs about this. And I think it kind of upset their apple cart because they were going in the, break things, move fast and break things, better to get forgiveness than permission. But that doesn't work if there's such a huge threat.
Now, so if we're scrolling on the web and we see Reddit, at least to our eye, Reddit is text. And when we're interacting with AI agents or sidebar knowledge intelligence, we're at least under the impression that we, the user, the intended user, are the one that's prompting this AI. So how could a plain text on some website be the one to prompt our AI?
So to be useful, these AIs do read what you're browsing. They're like looking over your shoulder, and that can be useful, right? That can be very useful. So there's lots of compelling use cases that the Perplexity guys do with Comet. The problem is that it can't delineate your prompt easily from what it picks up from the web. And so if it manages to combine them and it doesn't have any alignment protection, which I'll talk about in a minute, it can just go against your interests. And these, again, the text can be hidden from your eyes, which is also a clue, but there's lots of ways to hide text, like very subtle color differences in an image, because we read text out of images. It's required, right? Text and images, OCR is back. This is part of what AI agents do. They have to read text wherever it is, whether it's in HTML properly rendered or it's in an image. So delineating the web content as supplementing your prompt, but not the same as your prompt, is super important. And this gets into really tricky areas of information flow security. We're working on it. We have something in our agent mode that's, again, opt-in. It's in a separate profile, so you don't lose all your stuff right away. You start cleaning, you kind of be careful. Unlike, who was the Meta woman who just posted she had 𝘗𝘓𝘏 like clean up her inbox and she couldn't stop it. She didn't know to hit /stop, and she was saying stop, and it was like queuing the messages for later. Seems like she was using a work machine if it was her Gmail. Anyway, you really don't want this thing running amok. You want to have a new profile. So that's the first layer of defense in depth we do. It's just simple. Start over. Maybe you're going to be reckless and put all your cryptos and banks and health data logins and tabs in there, but that's your choice, and you're kind of starting from fresh, and we put a pink background on it so it looks kind of different on all the tabs in that agent mode profile. It's a profile in Chromium terms. And then if you go into this case where maybe Reddit's trying to attack you, we have a separate model that checks the prompt and it doesn't read the web content. So this is like a guardrail or alignment model, and it can sort of veto the main model by saying, wait a minute, your user prompt says, don't send my logins anywhere, but this Reddit post is saying send all my logins to hacker.com. So that is an extra layer of defense we've added in agent mode, and I expect all the other browsers will do similar things. I think actually ChatGPT Atlas did better against some of these indirect prompt injection proofs of concept. We did get a few that worked in it, but they were using a better model. I think it was ChatGPT 4.5 then, or maybe it's gone to 5, and that was more careful about not getting misaligned through these rogue Reddit posts. The problem is people use these AI systems in the free leg of the freemium offering, and they don't necessarily pay for the premium offering. Guess what happens if you're in ChatGPT Atlas and you exceed your quota? They silently downgrade you to ChatGPT Mini 3. Mini 3 is not very careful about checking alignment. So suddenly you're more vulnerable and you didn't even know. The silence is deadly, not golden as in Unix.
Man, so there is, on this note of prompt injections and kind of understanding what you're doing from that angle, especially, trying to build a company like Brave or just build a full internet, state of, so many people are using this at scale. Spotify actually came out, and I think their CEO said that their senior devs haven't written a line of code since last year, since November or December.
They reviewed some.
They're just supervising AI output, and their CEO is saying that what they've built, this month will be obsolete in the next month. So much so that they're kind of saying that coding jobs have an expiration date now. Is that true? Like, what is the state of actually getting evergreen code built at scale? Is this a good idea for companies like Spotify? Is this scary?
So let me say, first of all, that we've been using things like Claude Opus, I think 4.5, it's pretty good. People use, some people have already used Cursor. We have a budget for each engineer to spend monthly on AI, because they're going to use it for coding, possibly for review, or definitely for test generation. The thing is, you have to review the code. Models are non-deterministic. They hallucinate, they blunder. This is the nature of LLMs. It cannot be fixed, right? This is what Jan LeCun says we need new architectures to overcome. He said that the current generation of architectures, and he means large language model transformer architectures, will saturate at or below human intelligence at very high training cost. So, and Altman said, "Oh, kids cost a lot to raise and feed." Well, I don't know. Kids can do things that these models can't, or that they get wrong too often. See, relying on them for code is tricky, especially if it's a mission critical. You have to review it, and we've nevertheless benefited. But it takes senior engineers sort of carefully training and selecting the problems. Somebody recently said they made a browser with AI, but if you look closely, they were using Rust, and they were using standard Rust libraries that some human wrote for the JavaScript interpreter and the HTML renderer, and the thing crashed all the time too. So taking on a big complex code base like a browser and trying to fully generate a new one from AI isn't happening. But for lots of work, certainly Spotify front end work, you can get better productivity as a senior sort of coder designer. This is putting pressure on the entry level of programming market, unfortunately, which is where I started as a Unix hacker in 1985 at SGI. So I think there's a concern there, but I think a lot of programmers just have to learn to use these tools, and the human element is still needed because all this code is coming from, generative AI that's reading a lot of existing code. So to do really interesting new things at the design space, let's say, instead of code space, you still need a human. We can have, AIs dream up new ways to create a tripod. And sometimes they generate these things that are 3D printed. They look like they're spider webs.
Yeah.
Probably strong enough to meet certain requirements, but it's not ready to take on everything humans do. We're not going to be totally put out of business. And so at Brave, we're using the sort of Claude Opus, Claude Code, ChatGPT Codex, whatever it's called, Cursor.
Yeah.
And we're using, a few of us, my co-founder Brian Bondi, are using OpenClaw.
Yeah.
Separate GitHub login,
Yeah.
no access to any company keys. When it thinks it has a good PR, it puts it up for review.
Yeah.
And actually, it's working on a backlog of bugs that are like low priority or harder to reproduce, and it's making progress.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's running in a 𝘠𝘭𝘐𝘐 loop, so it just keeps battering away until it gets a result. This is an improvement, but again, it's like a tool in the belt that human programmers have to use.
Yeah.
And so I don't think we're going to replace everybody. Maybe Spotify is just doing, I hate to say shallow because it's JavaScript, it's my baby, but maybe they're just doing front end code that is easy to automate.
Yeah.
Hibachi is fast and private perps trading, secured by ZK with Celestia underneath. Go to hibachi.xyz to start trading today.
Looking for yield that stands out? Infinify gives you just that. Deposit stablecoins and earn far more than the current savings rate. Infinify is a battle-tested, reliable DeFi platform that is ready to go. Head to infinify.xyz.
As the inventor of JavaScript, was there any breakthroughs that you had when you were kind of developing this technology? And have you seen any similar experiences lately with AI that signal to you there's a place or something similar for inserting yourself in a new technology that can really thrust us to the next level?
That's an interesting question because people have said, now when I did it, there was, I've been through 4 AI waves. There was one in 86 or so that was about rule-based systems and prolog unification. Pretty shallow. Crashed and burned. A lot of those companies didn't make it. But in 95, when I did JavaScript, I was concerned about making browsers useful and interactive and sort of two-way instead of just being something that presents static content. When people started using these large language models with enough training to do interesting programming, it turns out, I've heard, and you have to check me on this, that TypeScript and JavaScript actually work better than some other languages. I think this is just a matter of the open source corpora that are out there in JavaScript and TypeScript. So it's a better set of training texts, and it's got a bigger community. Like JavaScript kind of became the biggest language. Doesn't mean it's the best, but it was on first, and it spread like a successful gene. Yeah. And it spread into a lot of domains like Node.js and elsewhere. And then TypeScript came along and said, this was clever, Microsoft. We're just a superset. You can write plain JavaScript. Any JavaScript program is a TypeScript program, but you can start adding type annotations, and our tool, VS Code, will check things and tell you if you're like passing a string when it wants a number. Yeah. That's good. And that led to this proliferation of TypeScript, which I think is now in a feedback loop with the AI, code AI.
Okay.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think that there's probably similarities to your 10 days at, 10 days of building JavaScript, with Peter Steinberger from OpenClaw, who's just been shipping thousands of GitHub repos every single day.
Yeah. His story of going to Marrakesh and then getting, news that the agent had figured out by uploading and converting some audio file into the text. That was amazing.
Yeah.
It wasn't AGI, right? It's just doing better job of putting existing data together and transforming it as needed and using, LLM techniques.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think it only took 10 days to invent JavaScript. To me, that sounds like, you were working smarter, not necessarily working harder. Was there some 0 to 1 and that really led, or some breakthrough that?
If you want the full story, I
what
had
drugs
three
were you
hours
on?
with 3 hours with Lex Fridman. I didn't open the can of Ultra Fiesta Monster, but it was sitting there, so I was spiritually consuming it. In the 90s, it was Coke. I think it was Coke Classic. Too much sugar, but what was going on in the early days, because the standard has evolved quite a bit. JavaScript's become big and has lots of improvements. I was involved with the standards process for 20 years, but before we took it to standards, I had to get it from 0 to 1 because there was a deadline and it wouldn't have made it otherwise. And then there would have been Microsoft coming up behind Netscape with their monster truck and Visual Basic Script, which no one, believe me, no one would have liked any better and probably would have hated more than JavaScript. So what I was trying to do was get the minimum viable product done. And this is something I saw one of the YouTube comments on my interview with Lex said, where in the interview I'm saying, he said, oh, you needed objects, you had garbage collection. I said, I left garbage collection out at first. And somebody in the comments said, wow, this is making me rethink my lean engineering and how I should proceed. He actually deferred it till later and got things done faster. And I realized I've been working on things like I'm on version 3 when I should really just get the super minimal part done. And I think that's a lesson programmers always have to learn and relearn, because if you try to polish too long, you miss the market, or you take too long, or somebody else beats you to some goalpost.
Brendan, we've seen quite a bit of waves with regards to people wanting to do computer science degrees, just generally learn programming. I've seen multiple tweets and different content pieces about how it was extremely hot, I think it was like 20 or 30 years ago, kind of took a bit of a dip, now came up again, pre-AI, now post-AI, it's kind of taking a bit of an enrollment dip. Would you recommend young people to study computer science given the state of programming today? Or how do you think about like the specialization of skills?
That's a good question. I have children, one of them is studying, but he's doing math.
Okay.
I think if you do math, you can pick up programming. He can pick up programming, no problem. So become more valuable in the sort of applied math and linear algebra and stuff that matters for machine learning. He'll do fine on using these tools because they'll write the easier known code and he can use his own brain to write more advanced code. So I don't think programming necessarily is the way to go. I think the sort of fields that only humans can really do well at right now. I know people who think the LLMs are going to invent new physics and new math for us. I don't think so. I mean, science fiction writers do it all the time, and it's all woo, right? But I do see these cycles, right? 30 or 25 years ago, it was be a Java programmer, and people were getting into it who didn't really want to be a programmer. They did it for the money. And as Aristotle said, when you do something for the money, your work isn't as good. You should go do something else. Be a pilot, be a nature guide. Don't be a programmer just for the money. So I think that applies today too. People might want to get into AI at the prompt engineering level. This is where the artists are waking up. Some of them were saying we're going to be destroyed by AI because it can copy images and do generative AI.
Right.
Hope to get the right number of fingers on hands.
It's
getting really good.
Still struggling with that, but
the whole
eating spaghetti and
Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt fight. I mean, it's getting good, but you still need artists who can prompt it, steer it, and make it really good, and make the next generation even better. And I think that's where people go.
Go anywhere on chain instantly with Relay.link. Relay is closing in on $10 billion transferred. Go to Relay.link to bridge your assets now.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think that it's something that I've talked to friends about who are just getting into what they call vibe coding now and building out different softwares, different products, and
without too much slop, because the slop can easily rise taller than your UQ, right?
I guess one of the last things that I wanted to ask you, I know that you're a privacy enthusiast, right? I know that you have the core blockchain and kind of original ethos at heart, with Brave being essentially like come use a more private, more kind of cookie resistant, more ad free experience online, and do it through this software that we've built. When it comes to this new world that you're entering and really doing a lot of work in LLMs, AI, and then really just like this convergence, like where are we at with privacy, or like what are some of the core tenets of this world that you'd like to see be prioritized and focused on?
That's what Brave's AI approach does. I mentioned the browser AI, which is using models that, if you use the default model like Qwen or even the Anthropic models, they're hosted on AWS Bedrock, and they do not log to Anthropic in the case of the Anthropic models. So Anthropic did a deal with Amazon, even though they're closed weight, closed source models, they got them on AWS Bedrock. It's a hosting part of AWS, and it doesn't send the logs to Anthropic. So there's better privacy, but if you really want ultimate privacy, bring your own model, use the latest, more distilled or smaller models. That's where the future is. I think models are going to get more efficient. They're already commodifying, we know this, and they're going to run on devices like you guys have in front of you, and that's not a privacy concern if you keep them from phoning home. So that we can do. Brave is really good at blocking trackers and ads. blocking best in class YouTube ad blocker, which is great for our growth.
Yep.
And that leads to questions like we faced at the founding. How do you replace the lost revenue to valid creators? That's one of the reasons we have the basic attention token. We have opt-in private ads that allow you to donate to verified creators. If you go to bravebat.info, you can see the whole list of them. I think Mr. Beast was near the top for a long time. I don't know if he still is. And there's a lot of YouTubers who signed up with us because we support them as distinct payees, not the YouTube user-generated content platform. They make plenty of money. We'll worry about them later. But then you look at the world of agents. So agents should be doing things for you. Maybe they should be paying for things or being paid for things. And this is the dream of crypto-mediated agent-to-agent commerce and agent reputation. We're getting into it, but the real problem remains security, because security is not a separable concern. That's a famous paper from friends of mine. Or security is never done. This is like Fred Brooks, mythical mammoth sort of thing. There's no silver bullet. It's a set of trade-offs, and trade-offs mean economic scarcity makes you only defend the ones that you think are under attack, and you leave other ones unguarded. The attackers move there, and you have to go there, and it's an endless wheel. In fact, I think even with AI helping, we'll always be having employment for security engineers and security gurus and universities. So what we want for these agents, especially if they're going to have access to, let's say, a limited amount of crypto, and I'm talking to friends in the industry like Belshi at BitGo about this. We'll probably start bringing this up, but you will not be able to drain your entire Coinbase. You will not have your Coinbase open in a tab over here and your agent doing stuff over there, and suddenly there's a prompt injection from Reddit in the third tab and it takes everything. That's the nightmare case to avoid. So we're working on it. It's a lot of security engineering. It's a lot of new threat models, because like I said, it cuts across the old boundaries, site-by-site boundaries that we created back when I did JavaScript.
Mike's been on the show. It's been a little while, but I'd love to get him and you on. I also want to ask, just before you go, you probably recognize this. This is the model tracing chart, how much it can get done and how much time. This actually extends all the way to June 2028. Where Claude Opus 4.6 just came out. So current time is actually right here. Do you anticipate that we're going to continue expanding this intelligence linearly? Because everyone says this is going to taper off and it's going to be an S curve potentially. But if the current pace of projection continues, will look something like this.
And this is a log scale, isn't it? Sort of.
Yeah.
So it looks linear, but it's really exponential, which in nature is always part of a logistic curve, an S curve. People say, oh, it's exponential until what? The singularity, right? This is something I don't think is going to happen. So we will see some tapering. I think the other thing people will realize, and this will become more important in enterprise, it already is that you want the privacy built in. You want the local models, or you want strong alignment guards or extra model checking or firewalls of sorts. So you don't have all your company data flying out onto the internet. And that's going to take some work and some time. And models, because they still are non-deterministic, they still can hallucinate. You'll have this sort of, I think, you already have it, the sense that, well, this is good. It really does help. It's a better front end to search. You can write a lot of grunt work paper for me, as if the world needs more paperwork, so maybe we should get rid of that. It can write grunt work code for me too, right? These are valuable things, but they aren't really going to bring about the singularity. So that will cause, I think, the bubble will slowly burst, or maybe there'll be a big burst. I don't know. I do, worry about companies that have no line of sight to profitability, like OpenAI. Anthropic looks strong, right? They have a plan. They're getting in the enterprise. So I think we'll see over the next few years with that chart and with actual business or macro environment, who's going to make it and who isn't, where the technology really works and where you have to put more care into how it's deployed, security and trust and
and just last thing to wrap up here, Brendan, are you focused on micropayments in Brave? Like, I think that's something that all of us in the space see as something that crypto rails can really power.
Yes, and the agents would be often doing it because they wouldn't be doing macro work, they'd be doing micro work.
And this is part of like the whole software as a service kind of eradication of business model, because we want to pay on it. SaaSpocalypse. We want to pay on an outcome-based, token-based kind of model,
seat-based basis,
rather a seat-based or a monthly basis. So, like, what are you guys doing there?
Well, so when we did that, we were on Ethereum, and it was like too slow, and all the Bitcoin bros, which were even slower and costlier with the block size problems, being sorted out, we're saying use Lightning, and it's like Lightning's not ready. And by the way, Lightning requires committing all this Bitcoin. The real problem is, I think Bitcoin is like gold, and you don't want to clip your gold to buy coffee generally. And the guy that bought the pizza famously regrets it. So we rode the Ethereum wave, but then we put that on multiple chains. And ultimately on Solana, we're actually doing settlement into self-custody. So we have no intermediaries like we had to use initially for fear of FinCEN, like Uphold and Gemini were two partners. We had a Japanese exchange that was helping us settle that from this private ad system. Now we can settle directly on chain on Solana. And there's probably more to come. I think we're at NearCon. Near, I think, was just behind Solana and kind of missed that being the third big blockchain because it's fast and short time to finality. But Near has a lot of advantages because of the AI background of 𝘰𝘰, because of the smart contract. I would say better smart contract expressiveness. So we're working on things with Near. Some of them are yet to be announced. Some of them will be announced. I'll talk to my
and that's specifically for like integrating, payments and these types of things.
Yeah, I mean,
into
there's
the
a problem
browser.
with, you may know this because Perplexity's been sued is in court in the Southern District of New York, which is not a friendly jurisdiction, by big publishers, by New York Times, right? So this is going to play out into some kind of case law. I hope not bad. There's existing case law for Google search that says it can do like AI generated snippets of a certain size, but it's really easy with all this text flying around the web. You can recreate Little Women, right? You can create a book, and it isn't like any one person leaked the book. Some do. So there needs to be new copyright law, new intellectual property law, and it needs to recognize the rights holders' ability to be paid if they should be paid. That's where Ted Nelson and Project Xanadu were trying to do micropayments too early and two-way links to make them work and all sorts of exotic stuff. And it was never practical, though. There's an existing JavaScript implementation of Xanadu that's kind of fun. If you go to xanadu.com, I think you can see it. We are working with Near on ways to help creators get paid. Probably something we can then merge with the Bat Creators program. We'll see.
Okay.
It's all very evolutionary. We don't want to make these grand plans that we commit to because, for one thing, you've got these large publishers that have extensive legal budgets and they're not technical and they're just inclined to use lawfare to freeze things. They want to create a frozen conflict. They want to shake money out of the AI hyperscalers and then they want to just sit back and say, we did it. But it's slowly, if you look at the news industry especially, it's slowly dying. So we need a better plan, including micropayments, micro royalties.
Yeah. I mean, people are pretty excited about 𝘰𝑗2 as far as standards from the blockchain world go as well.
Yeah, we're involved in that. We're worried about it being a privacy terror, but
Really?
we're working on it.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but Coinbase is kind of embracing the blockchain as the new Google panopticon because they bought Spindle. I like AGM and well done, quick exit. But they're saying, yay, we can see everything on the blockchain. We can build it up with ad tech. We can put it all together and profile you. Most people want privacy, especially for finance. Right. And if you look at how Base has been evolving and how its privacy policy has been evolving, it doesn't look very private. So I think there's more work to do among more stakeholders there. And 𝘰𝑗2 shouldn't just be a base play.
Yeah. Brandon, thank you for your time, man. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks.
Thank you for your contribution to both AI and blockchain, man.
I did drink.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Have a great talk.
Cheers, man.
Thank you.